I'm curious to ask you about the primitives of MarTech and GTM. Like one thing you talked about a lot is that people are getting really hyped up about AI without considering how well the tech actually works now. Plus, like could work in the next like 5, 10 years, but we're not putting enough focus on the primitives of GTM and MarTech software and how there needs to be a transition period. Like we're talking about agents, and a lot of folks are even using ChatGPT yet. Maybe not less, maybe less in tech, but like, what do you mean exactly by primitives in MarTech, and why do you think it's critical to preserve them during this pace of innovation?
Mm. So this is probably a butchered definition of primitives. I mean, some people are, I would say, not uptight, but like very, very opinionated about what a primitive is. And I think in my mind, for the sake of just describing what I'm talking about, um, I just think there are these core concepts, largely objects in the MarTech and RevTech space that define how the systems and tools work. And if you come from a MarTech background, it's very obvious in the CDP space. You have users or people with user attributes or user traits. This is all marketing language or jargon specific to the platform. You know, Segment has traits and Particle has attributes. Rudderstack gets attributes. So like it's just a definition. It's a key value pair structure for users. There's a key value pair structure for events, and events have names and they have event attributes or event traits. And that's largely the way that programmatic deterministic marketing has operated for the last 10 years. That's the way that CDP platforms are designed. That's also the way that many platforms connected to those tools are designed. And the reason I think that's important to consider is because unstructured data is really cool. But guess what? Unstructured data is not cool if it has to eventually be sent into a structured format and you don't have some concept of doing that. And so the emphasis is not to be like the old guy in the room, like, you know, wagging my finger or shaking my stick at agentic experiences. It's just to say that like I think a lot of companies right now are innovating at the boundary of what's possible, which is really cool. But there will be some time to catch up before that's fully realized. And I think that, you know, one of the stances that we take is that in the meantime, the original kind of data structures of CDPs and CRMs are really valuable, and people are still going to be operating in that way. The only case I can see where that's not true is like if AI progresses so rapidly in the next 5 years that computers can effectively design their own APIs and send data without needing any human intervention, then sure, you don't need any data structures at all, because you could actually just store everything in a data table and talk to your LLM or talk to your agent and say, hey, I want you to give these types of data to this endpoint. And as long as both endpoints have an LLM or an agent on either side of the endpoint, being able to decipher it and structure it, cool. But to me, that seems really far-fetched and very far off. It seems like more than a 3-year adventure. So in the meantime, my belief is that, you know, some of the best companies are maintaining what's good about old data structures while allowing and importing the ideas, you know, from agentic experiences. And just to give you an example, it's like, you know, in Clarify, we have a schema that you can have on contacts, but we automatically update fields for you based on unstructured data. So we allow you to define the structure, but we're trying to take the action out of it by updating that schema for you automatically. You know, and for people who use Salesforce, it's like, what happens if Salesforce updated itself based on your emails and calls? You know, it's like you still define the schema. You're in control. You're structuring the data. You're giving context to the CRM and saying, hey, these are the things I care about. But then you don't have to do the manual work of just like going and updating fields, because it's listening for those fields then and trying to sort things into the right groups and update them. So that's an example where I think like old world schema and like new world automation, i.e. AI intelligence, can be really, really powerful.
Yeah, great point. I think that like what I'm kind of getting a sense of is it's kind of like one of the age-old problems that MarTech has had for a long time, which is a lot of the stuff that's really going to move the needle is like this unsexy behind-the-scenes work. And a lot of CMOs, a lot of marketers, they just want the fancy stuff. They want like, you know, real-time personalization, and they want to push through all channels. And that stuff, I think, in the boardroom gets people really fired up. But MarTech operators like us, we know that you got to fix the data we need to spend like months fixing the data. We need to fix the infrastructure. Otherwise, none of this is even possible. And I remember talking to my coworker the other day, and we were talking about multivariate testing, and I told her, I'm ashamed. I was like, hey, I found this platform. You could do multivariate testing so quick, so easily. And she looked at me and she's like, Daryl, we can't even do A/B testing right now. Like, what are you even talking about? And I feel like that's maybe where we're going with AI. It's kind of like people want to do the really great stuff, but honestly, we kind of need the foundations first.